Basically what we do is a product, I think, which all of you have held many, many times in your hands. Actually, we do carton-based beverages or beverage packaging. More precisely, we do the packs as well as the filling machines to fill ambient, long shelf life food and beverages. I think one big advantage is already the ambient packaging in itself, which reduces the carbon footprint quite significantly because it allows for long-term storage as well as long-distance distribution without the necessity for a cooling chain. So you don't need refrigeration, which in itself cuts emissions quite significantly. So I think for us, sustainability is of utmost importance because our product, which you see here, is 75% made out of cardboard. And cardboard in itself comes out of wood, and wood is obviously a natural, renewable, and CO2 absorbing resource. Having said that, of course, it is a necessity that the wood comes from forests which are responsibly managed and the management adheres to sustainable criteria so that it is not only renewable, but in fact it is renewed day after day, year after year for all future generations. And for us, as a significant buyer of wood-based raw materials, it is of utmost importance for our long-term success that, of course, the resource is there and that our suppliers adhere to sustainability standards. We have been the first supplier or the first in our industry who certified all our worldwide plants according to Forest Stewardship Council criteria for chain of custody verification. It is very important for us to apply literally this, golden standard to protect actually one of the most important natural carbon sinks, the worldwide forests. And at the same time also for us, what has been proven to be very successful based on the very positive response we received last year when we were the first to introduce in Europe the first FSC-labeled carton packs for juice in Europe. So, which did prove also to us that indeed being green, for lack of a better word, can also serve as a growth engine.
You touched on a couple of themes I hope we'll come back to. One is supply chain, and the other is the kinds of regulatory frameworks that can either create incentives or get in the way. Charlie, I'd like to come to you next, and you're a retailer, so you stand in between the manufacturers and the consumers. How do you think about green growth for a company like Office Depot?
Well, a lot of people know our retail stores, but we're actually more than a retailer. We sell to B2B, and we sell the things that are, generally speaking, quite humble. Paper, pencils, pens, the things that you use every day in an office. However, these can have, if not properly managed, quite an impact on the environment. For example, about over a third of our products are paper, ink, and toner. So the things that you use every day. And both of these, all three of these categories require wood, plastic, chemicals, that sort of thing. So for us, Office Depot itself is a relatively young company. We're 24 years old. And I've been with the company half of that time. And it's hard for me to imagine a time at Office Depot when we weren't thinking about the environment. And under that, we think about it in a very holistic or closed cycle fashion. So our motto in the green space is to buy green, be green, and sell green. Now, what do I mean by that? So, for example, under buy green, when we buy product, we make a conscious choice about the impact on the environment. As an example, there was a company that resident here in Asia that made a very high quality paper, but they were basically destroying the rainforest in Indonesia. We took the stance, and they were selling to us and our competitors. We took the stance that that was unacceptable. And even though we paid a premium in terms of the price that we had to pay for paper, we banned purchases from this company globally. And so while not necessarily a short-term economic win for us, we thought it was the right thing to do long-term. Now, what do I mean when I say be green? Well, we just moved in a couple of years ago to our new global headquarters in South Florida. This building was constructed mostly out of recycled or environmentally friendly materials, from the carpets that we used to the woods that paneled some of the offices, to the glass and the insulation and the heating and cooling systems that we used. Also, for example, around our corporate headquarters, 100% of the paper we use, not only in the headquarters, but in all our facilities around the world, are 100% recycled. More on that later. In terms of Cell Green, we were the first company in our space to actually introduce a green product catalog, and we did that about 8 years ago. And so today, in a typical warehouse, you'll have about 14 to 15,000 different products in that warehouse. 6,500 of those will be from sustainable sources, and 4,500 of those products will actually have recycled content. So for us, this is very, very important. It's a way of doing business, and again, it's a cycle, it's a loop. So at the end, in our retail stores, not only do we sell recycled products, when people upgrade their technology or replace the batteries or buy a new cell phone, new computer, we take the old technology back. As a matter of fact, we'll pay for it. We'll pay for it and then make sure that it's disposed of in an appropriate fashion so we can recycle and don't end up with the heavy metals in our landfills. So for us, it's a way of being.
We've heard a couple of mentions already about closed loop, and I think the concept of designing for the environment is something that is taking off. Let me use that as a segue. Josef, you come from Siemens. Siemens designs and builds a lot of very complicated things. How do you think about this topic?
Yeah, green business has to be business. You cannot run a company without profit. If you, especially in green business issues, you have to do a lot of research and development. And in Siemens, for example, we spend every year more than €1 billion in developing new solutions. It cannot be the interest that that company or such companies disappear. Our approach in Siemens is, and you all know that Siemens is not a consumer product company. We are more in the investment goods industry. We have three different approaches. One approach definitely is to go for renewables, wind farms, for example, yeah, steam turbines for solar power plants. That's very important to go. That's a new way to improve the already existing solutions. But this definitely, renewable solutions will never be able to substitute the conventional way of doing things. And so it is very important to make the existing portfolios more energy efficient. That's very, very important. And the third aspect in our company is environment technologies in general. Water technologies, waste treatment, air pollution control. And what is very important, if you go to markets, you have to give a good example to your customers. And Siemens has baselined in 2006 already what we produce in CO2, how much water do we use, how much electricity, how much waste do we produce. And with that baselining in 2006, the target is to have in 2011, in 1 year, a reduction of 20% or to produce 20% more as we have produced in 2006. That, of course, is measured every year, and we are on track, and in certain disciplines like CO2 emission, for example, we are already overshooting the set target.